Welcome back to another vlog. I had something I was gonna say and then it just kind of went out the door. It's Monday. It's been a long day. Didn't get a lot of sleep, but I haven't done one of these, so I needed to do one of these. So here we are, doing one of these. So, update on the writing side, right? I have finished book 5. All of those books, all of the books in the high fantasy series are now in the drive with the publisher. It is in the hands of the editor. Or it's in our hands. I can still access it. That's just how we operate. And I am doing kind of a read through. I'm not changing anything big. I'm mostly going back through like book 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll do 4 and 5 just to do a very preliminary line edit, I guess. And I know you're technically not supposed to do your own line edits, and someone else will go back over it after me. But I am going through and I am mainly looking at like word choices. I'm making sure all the words are necessary. I am looking at dialogue tags, making sure the dialogue tag is necessary, making sure that the word said is necessary, and if it's not necessarily, I'm editing it out. Like little line things like that. And I've gotten to the point where I know my common mistakes. So I will, as I'm going through, as I'm reading, I hone in on those. Like I know the little things that I do, like the word that, overusing the word said, um, overusing the word was in conjunction with a verb instead of rewording it so it's more of an active sentence. Just like little things like that that I'm aware of that I will go in and fix so that my editor will have less work. And it also, because now that I'm finished with book 5, I can go back into book 1 and I can add just little details. For example, in the very first scene, I changed the name of a character who never comes back. You never meet this character again. So I changed that character to be a character that you do see again later in the series. That's one huge positive about writing the whole series before book 1 is published. So now I can go in and I can layer in little bits of not not foreshadowing, but like I can use bits and pieces that will come back later. So it looks like I was really prepared when I wrote book 1, even though I wasn't. There's a lot of book 1 I cut out because it never comes back. But we are on track so far to do the rapid release for that series. Right now I'm calling it the Witch Queen series. For book 1 to come out maybe springish. And then I think the goal, the plan, the preliminary plan was to do one book a month. I don't know how that's going to work out. That might be too much. We might end up doing every other month. I don't know. We'll see. It's one of the best things about being like a smaller press. We can finagle the what word do I want? Publishing schedule as we need to. We can push books out. We can do things sooner. It's a lot more fluid, and I do like that. So stay tuned for more updates on the Witch Queen series. I'm trying to get in the mindset of marketing, but it feels like we just got off of the marketing train for Stars and Bones rapid release. Even though that was last year at this time is what I was doing. So it's been like a whole year since that series has been done. So I hate marketing. I don't like marketing. I'm not good at it. It is not where all of my skills lie, whatever. Or it confuses everybody. I had a sticky note somewhere for a very long time with like the conjugations of like lie and lay on it. Because I just, that's one of those words I can never keep straight. It just, every single time. That and affection effect. I have to look that word up a lot. And it's still just, my brain doesn't wrap around. Like, can we just get rid of one word and just everyone agrees that this effect is now the effect of all of them? We just get rid of the other one because it's stupid. This is decaf, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And I'm happy to get the Witch Queen off of my desk and, in the chute of publishing. But it also feels really weird to not have it on my desk anymore. because I have been working on that series on and off since 2020. So 6 years. I have been working on and off on that series. And it's been that series that has just been sitting in the back of my mind, and like I'll just randomly come back to it and come back to it, and now it's done. And it feels weird. That moment of like when you finally write the end on the end of a manuscript. It's just like, now what? What do I do with myself? What do I spend my time thinking about? And of course, I've got so many other works in progress that I want to get to, so many other story ideas that I want to explore and tackle. A lot of the things that I'm working on right now, like Stars and Bones, or things that I have been working on, I should say. I'm not working on Stars and Bones anymore, it's done. But like Stars and Bones, The Witch Queen, this haunted house that I've been working on for a while, they've all been works in progress for a very long time. I worked on them for a long time. And now that I'm getting all of these older projects done and complete and out into the world and out of my hands, it feels weird because they've been my constant thinking companions for years, and now I'm done with them, and it feels weird. And other authors are probably going to be the only people that like understand and be like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and everybody else is like, what? In other writing news, I got my edits back for the haunted house one, right, that I've been working on for a very long time, and I've changed and I've changed and I've revised and I've revised and I've edited. And I let those notes sit for several days, and then I rewrote the outline. I don't remember if I talked about this in another blog, but I rewrote the outline. Then I let that outline sit. Then I rewrote that outline again. And the outline that I ended up with, I think I rewrote it 3 times? Anyway, however many times I rewrote the outline, I finally had it to where I was very happy with how the outline was going. I changed some things around. I decided that I agreed with the editor on like certain elements that aren't really working for the story anymore. They can be left out, and there was another element that I had, like the main character like finds letters essentially from a folklorist, and it ended up being just a very lore heavy info dump chapter, and I found another avenue to slide that information in and basically cut a lot of it because a lot of it was unnecessary. I was trying to make this too complicated because what has happened to this book is that I have rewritten it more times than any other book that I've ever done. I don't even know how many times I've rewritten it, how many times I've changed the premise, changed the main character. I rewrote an entire draft to be more like Ghost Hunter centered, then I rewrote it again to be more like Fatal Frame esque. And then the draft that I ended up, the one that I sent to the editor, was really a hobgoblin chimera version of all of these stories that I have tried to write. That is really just this one story. And this new draft, I have cut out a lot of things. I think I cut out like 20,000 words, which feels great. Basically, what I didn't rewrite the draft. I went through the old draft and took out the pieces that still worked for the new draft, and I just plopped them in. And I went through and I chopped up some chapters. I got rid of a lot of things. I changed some pieces of like dialogue and conversations so that like the lore is now included in there, and I feel like it flows a lot easier. But I've been working on that for 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. But anyway, I finished that draft. I finished the new draft yesterday. Today's Monday. Yesterday was Sunday. I finished it yesterday. And I feel more confident about this new draft than I did the previous draft. And oh, a side note is while I was doing this, while I was kind of in the middle of the chopping and the dicing and the splicing together of a new draft, I was having a lot of doubts And the imposter syndrome comes in. They're like, "What are you doing? You probably should abandon this because it's not going to go anywhere. You shouldn't write contemporary, blah blah blah." Those things. I listened to a podcast, the shit they don't tell you about writing podcast. Which, if you've never heard of the podcast, I enjoy it from time to time. It's not my favorite writing podcast, but I enjoy it. And this particular episode just happened to be the episode I needed to hear because the guest speaker was an author, of course, and she's talking about her book and how she wrote it, and then she came back to it sometime later and completely dissected it and destroyed it and rewrote it completely from scratch. And she said something along the lines of, if you haven't completely torn apart your manuscript and rewritten it, have you really done a revision? I thought about that for days. I'm still thinking about it. Here, 2 weeks later, 1 week later, whenever I would like time, it feels weird anymore. I don't know. But I thought about that and thought about all of the revision that I've done with this book and how this one is a little bit more drastic than any other revision that I've done so far. Because I'm chopping a lot of things out, and I thought previously that draft 7, which is one I sent to the editor, was it. I thought it was going to be the story I was moving forward with. I thought it was going to be the one that I published, and it's not. And I was thinking about this morning, how old BB, would have finished draft 7 and then just jumped right into the query trenches, like immediately. But instead, me, now old BB, old, experienced BB, hired an editor instead. Which I guess, in hindsight is what you should do for your manuscripts. But whatever, I digress. And the feedback that she gave me it's not changing the manuscript a whole lot. Like, I'm not rewriting a completely new story. It's the same story, but with the extra stuff cut out, with the unnecessary stuff cut out, with the lore being smoother, with the ending making more sense. I've been thinking about this today a lot, is what has been getting me through the day, that this process that I'm doing, or that I did this past week on this book, the chopping up, the killing of the darlings, the deleting of entire scenes, the rewriting of entire sections of dialogue, that is what revision is. And you pour yourself into all these manuscripts and they're not ready yet. And it's that moment of where you think something is ready, but then it's not. And I think that moment is, like, I don't know how to really describe it. It's that moment where I have faltered on so many other projects that I thought were done, mostly because I didn't know what else to do. I had no notes for revision. I thought it was done. And in my naive little baby author heart, it was ready for the world. And so many times the book is not ready. The book is not polished. It is not the best it could be, but it gets published anyway. And I don't want to rush to publication and push out a book that is not quite there just because I don't want to mess with it anymore, just because I am mentally done with it. I would rather spend the next 6-7 months doing another revision of this manuscript to make it even better, to make sure that it is the best I could possibly make, then other people can read it. What I'm trying to get at, the point I'm trying to make, is that my concept of what is and is not publication ready has changed greatly over the past 10 years. Like, when I think about the version of my very first book that I self-published, it was garbage. And I'm saying that objectively. Because I went back and I tried to read it like a couple years later and it was terrible then. Like, I don't even want to know what I would think about it now. I don't even think I have that manuscript anymore. Because this is like 3 computers away from that computer that I used to write that book. But even just looking back on that Thief in the Castle, the version that we published, I reread it, oh, it's been several years ago, but I was noticing the little bitty things like, oh, I wish I would have done that differently. Oh, I would do this differently now. And it's crazy to see just how much I've changed in the course of all the books that I've written, even just from, Stars and Bones to even The Blood Enchantress to, the books that I'm working on right now. It's such a evolvement. No, evolution. There we go. It's an evolvement. Like I said, it's been a long day. So it's just really cool to see the evolution of like what I think is done and what I perceive as good writing for me, like the writing that I can produce. And I'm sure other artists will be able to be like, yeah, no, I understand that entirely. So that's really all I have. That's my writing update. That's my writing thoughts that I've had. I will probably let the contemporary horror sit for a little bit before I jump right into another revision so that I can come back to this new draft with a fresh mind and not be so mentally hooked into what it once was. So I can come into it with fresh eyes and work on like the transitions between scenes, making sure all the scenes flow better, making sure I haven't left anything vital out, cutting out anything that's not vital. I don't know what I'm gonna work on next. Because this is usually about the time when like another rough draft will kind of smack me in the face and be like, look at me, work on me. Like this is when the muse will snag on like another rough draft and that's when I just get sucked in. Which I have been meaning to work on the sequel to The Blood Enchantress. I told I told my editor about it months ago and she was like, "Yes, please write that one." And then I got sucked into the contemporary horror and I have not worked on the sequel to Blood Enchantress since I wrote the outline. Like I have the outline. I'm happy with the outline. It's got kind of like a cat and mouse kind of vibe. So I wanted to read more mysteries to kind of get that vibe because I wanted it to have like a murder mystery kind of vibe. Even though no, I don't want to say it because that might spoil it too much. But that might be the book I work on next. Don't hold me to that because it's been the book I'm going to work on next, like for like 3 books now. And it's just one of those things like I can't like just grab a book and work on it. Like the muse has to like call to it. The book has to like pull me in. I have to be like I don't know how to explain it other than whatever project the muse wants to work on next. Whatever calls to me. And outside of the Witch Queen series, I've been struggling this year with getting into a fantasy. And I honestly think that's because I haven't found another fantasy book that really pulls me in. Like, fantasy book to read, that is. And I've read so many fantasy books this year that are just, or I've tried to read. I've started several fantasy books this year, like an alarming number of them that I get in and I'm just like, I'm not enjoying it. It just feels like a carbon copy of every other fantasy book on the market, and it's just unenjoyable. And it's kind of turned me off fantasy a little bit. And I have several fantasy books on my shelf that I want to get to, and I just, like, I don't want anything with Fae in it. I am done with Fae. I am no more. I don't want any more Fae. I, like, as soon as, like, even if I'm, like, looking at books and like as soon as there's any kind of fae or fairy mentioned, I'm out. Like no, I don't want it. I'm sick of them. I'm sick of reading these ACOTAR wannabe books. No, I'm done. I'm done. Like right now, I'm reading the third book in the Defy the Night. Oh, the book is here in front of me. What am I doing? It's the Bridget Kemmerer Destroy the Day. It's the third book. I am about 70% through. Fantastic young adult fantasy series, especially if you want one that doesn't have magic in it. There's little, I don't think there's any magic in this series actually, but it's fantasy. It's like it's still a high fantasy. There's just no magic. And I read like 50 pages yesterday. And it was getting that, it was scratching that itch for like the fantasy. Like I want more fantasy that doesn't rely on magic. I want more like thieves and assassins and criminal guilds and clever plotting. I find one more fantasy book that centers around found mates, I'm gonna lose it. I might have to start burning books. I'm so sick of it. It's just lazy plotting. I've been reading more outside of fantasy this year than I ever have before. And it could just be I'm just not in a fantasy kick right now. I'm in a murder mystery kick and a dungeon crawler Carl kick. It's cool, whatever. I would like to find more like science fiction that isn't so like hard science fiction. I want soft science fiction. A high fantasy series, like with all like the sweeping worlds and the adventure and the characters and the intrigue, but in space, but not Star Wars. More better written. Oh no. So now everyone's gonna know how I feel about Star Wars. Oh no. Oh, before I embarrass myself anymore, I'm just gonna call it here. That was my writing update and an impromptu reading update. I hopefully will have good news when I do my next vlog thing. Probably not anything like any like covers or anything for The Witch Queen. That's probably way, way down the line. But who knows? If you want to find out what project I pick next, stay tuned. You can subscribe, you can hang out with me. I try to do these once a week. It doesn't always happen that way. It hasn't happened that way in several since like May. But it's fine. Uh, thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your night.